Hello, this is Lee over at 3D Palace, and welcome to episode 1 of Leeble's Junkyard, the series where we make greebles. Yeah, I know greebles are kind of a thing. They're not that interesting to make unless you're into that sort of thing, but they're a necessity when you're dealing with especially large sci-fi objects, basically. You know, spaceships is just kind of my thing. So, um, in this in this series, each season, what we're going to do is we're going to be picking a particular category of greebling, starting with mechanical, and then working our way through. And then by the end, I hope to have a rather massive Greeble collection that I can use and that you guys will be able to use for some pretty epic sci-fi projects. And of course, the Greeble set will be available through 3D Palace, and I believe it's going up on Gumroad as well when it's finished each season. So there will be a mechanical set, a structural set, and then communications and so on and so forth. But what we're going to be doing is we're starting with the basics, which is mechanical greebling, electrical greebling. We're going to be making pipes and vents and tanks and all kinds of stuff, and then basically building on, building on each series with the previous series or season rather. So this is what we're going to be working on, and we're going to start with pipes. Okay. So that being said, let me close that out. That being said, we're going to start with our good friend Google. Okay? And we're just going to type in pipes and if I can type connectors. Pipes and connectors. Okay? We're going to go to images. Okay? Now, we're dealing with small parts here, so we don't need to, look for like large images, which is one thing that I usually do, because then I can really get in there and, see what I'm looking at. But as you can see, I'm sure some of these are copyrighted, but don't care. Fair use. We're just looking for basic shapes like this here. You can see how this would go together. Okay? Just very basic, things. The other thing that we're going to want to look at is if we come up here, okay, in industrial site, okay, you can see how pipes and things kind of fit together, okay, and all kinds of different pipes and stuff everywhere. Okay, now I'm sure these are definitely copyrighted images, but you get the general idea, how pipes flow and how important pipes and connectors can be in creating certain, things. Okay? There's another one. You can see, different connections and bends and things. So that's where we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my connectors. Pipe, fittings, connectors. Fittings works too. Okay? It gives the same, it's the same thing. And we're going to go ahead and switch over to Max and get started. So I like to work in the perspective mode. So if we Alt W, we can bring that up to full screen here. And we're going to just basically get started. We're going to make a cylinder. Okay. Now I don't want it to be too high poly because, again, these are greebles. I want to make sure that I'm at edged faces so I can see what I'm doing here. Definitely going to want to take down the height segments to 1 because I want to control how many segments we have. Okay. Good enough. Now, I'm going to go ahead and convert this to an editable polygon. Okay. Now, if we were to, say, want a T-fitting, what we would do is we're going to take our rotate tool, and I actually want to center this to the object here. Effect pivot only. Yeah, we don't need to. Never mind. Alright, I'm going to shift and rotate. Oop. Cancel. I want to make sure that I'm on the proper guy here. So shift and rotate. 90 degrees. Oop. Let's make sure our angle snap is on. At A, we should get angle snap. Snap it down to 90. Okay. Click OK. Now we have this, and it's intersecting this. Okay. So if we move this up, we can see exactly how we should be cutting these, okay? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the base so that it lines up roughly with this particular line there, so to make cutting it out easier, okay? Now they're both editable polygons, so all we have to do is go to vertice mode here. And I'm literally just going to cut it in. We could use Boolean, but Boolean gets really messy really fast. Okay? So what I'm going to do, let's start here. Okay? I'm going to move around the model, cutting in our shape. Okay? Now I might fast forward through this, but if I don't, I apologize. I got to figure out how to do said things. Okay? When we get to this section here, don't recut it. You don't have to. Just right click and then it'll take you back to the original, non-cutting. Then you just keep going. Now this set is basically designed for beginner modelers. I mean, the best way to start modeling is to literally start with simple objects and, go from there. Okay, so now we have that one. Okay. Right on. Now we can take that off, come over to this guy, do the exact same thing, okay? So we're going to want to cut starting about here. Now with this one, as there's no vertices for us to really connect to. Alright, so don't be afraid to move the thing around. We want to make sure that we're well anchored, and we want to make sure that we're staying on the edges. Okay? That's how we're going to know we're anchored. And you can see that if we're not anchored, we get that little crosshair looking thing. If we are anchored, we get that flatter one. Okay? And done. Okay? Now, what we can do, take this off. Okay? Now things are going to get a little messy here, but that's fine. What we're going to do is come over here And I'm going to click this guy, and I just want to move him out so we can see where the polygons are that need to be deleted. Like this one, we're not going to need that one, obviously. Turn the move tool off, and we're just going to grab the polys that we don't want. Okay? This is how we do what's called manual boolean, or manual union. Okay? Alright, and we can just go ahead and kill that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay? But we have some vertices here that are going to need to be welded. So, oh, nope, there's only 2 verts there. It just looks like we have a additional, we do. It's because he's not on there. You see that? Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is I want to fix this. I don't want that sitting out there like that. So I'm going to take this over to here, okay, and turn off our cut tool. Now I'm going to grab these 2 verts and I want to weld them together. Alright, let's check over here, make sure we didn't do the same thing. It looks like we did. Okay, it's not you, so it's got to be down here. Yep, right there. Okay. So again, we're going to cut to here. Okay. And right click to get out of that. We're going to grab these 2 vertices and we're going to go and weld them together. Okay. We just want to check the mesh to make sure that we don't have any double edges because it's going to kill us later. Alright. Take all these faces that we don't need anymore and kill them. Okay. Now you can pretty much figure out what's going on here. Okay. So we're going to move this guy back into position. Okay. We want to be pretty close here, obviously. As close as we can be. Now, of course, you know, the cut isn't going to be exact. Don't expect it to be. But what we are going to do is take this main one and we're going to attach this other guy. Okay, so now what we can do is come back here and just start welding stuff together. Okay, now if it's not close enough to weld, we can make it close enough to weld, okay? Or you can do a target weld. Target weld's probably easier. Like so, okay? Now, target welding isn't always the answer. Sometimes you need to just weld them up, because welding splits the difference, where target welding targets one to the other. So, in this case, we want to do a weld. In this case, we can do a target weld. Target weld. Always target weld to the inner of the, or the base of the intersecting objects. Let's turn this grid off. It's just getting in my way. Okay, and then in this case we have these 2 here. We can just weld those together. These 2 here we can weld together. These 2 here we're going to weld. This one actually I think we're going to want to target weld. So we're going to grab this guy and target weld them in here. Same thing here. This one we could probably just weld together. This guy we're going to want to target weld because he's a little too far off. Same thing here. We can just basically just target weld the whole thing in here. Now this one doesn't want to target weld, so we're going to grab them and just weld them together. We're going to do the same thing basically here, where we're target welding. target weld, target weld, and target weld. And we should only have one or two more. Target weld that together. And target weld that together. Okay, and that gives us a T-junction. Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to leave these polygons here so that we can, you know, drag off of them or whatever we need to do to create the parts that we're going to need. Creating a Y-junction is basically the same thing. We'll do that right now. Basically, it's just, you know, it's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing. So we'll go ahead and grab one out. Okay. We'll grab this guy here. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a slightly smaller pipe. Okay, I'm going to show you what happens when you're trying to connect. Let's go to a 45. Okay, when you're trying to connect a two pieces that aren't exactly the same size. Okay. Now, obviously, things are a little off here, so we can go ahead and, you know, we'll just move this into proper position here. So you want the center lines to be roughly the same, so that we have a starting point. Okay? Now, we want the tops to be relatively equal, or the offshoot to be down a little bit. So that's what we're going to do there. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and convert to an editable polygon because I want this guy to basically come straight down. So we're going to go ahead and grab them like so. Okay? There we go. Now he's nice and intersecting. Make sure that we're centered up, which we appear to be. Good. Alright. Now with this, things are going to get a little messier, but it's the exact same process. I could show you guys basically how to do a boolean. Let's go ahead and turn that off. We need to convert this to an editable polygon. And I'll show you why we don't really use booleans too much. Yes, it's faster, but it can really screw things up too. So if we go to compound objects, we're going to go to boolean, okay? And we want a union here, okay? Or, what is it? Yeah, a union. Okay? So if we add operand, click on this guy, okay? Now they should be joined together, right? Because we're joining them together. We can also do an insert. Let's see what that does. Okay. Alright, so let's right click, convert to an editable poly and see what happened inside here. Okay. You can see that it actually didn't delete anything. We still have polygons everywhere. One thing that we probably could have done is we just go ahead and back out here real quick. Okay? Just delete this interfacing polygon that we don't need, since they are basically two objects. So Control Z, Control Z. If we grab this one, we know we don't need that inner poly, so if we Control I and delete it, it might act a little better for us. So let's go ahead here. Now we're going to do let's do the union, because we are joining them together, and see what happens here. Okay? Now if we turn this off, we see that we're not actually doing anything. Okay? That's not what we're looking for. So let's try a merge. Let's see what happens. Turn that off, nothing happens. Turn that off. Again, we're not getting that nice shape that we want. Okay? So we could try merging these two together and see what happens. Still not getting anything. So let's try subtracting. And that gives us cut. But unless we had another object that we could throw in there, it's not going to do us any good, and it's only one cut. So if we go to intersect, okay, and now it's cut everything out except for what we wanted. So intersect here, we can merge here. And we can see what we got going on. So nothing. Okay, you're merge, and you are intersecting. So again, we got a whole lot of absolutely nothing. Okay? So what I'm going to do is just back out, and off camera, in between episodes, I'm going to go ahead and cut that in and connect them. You guys don't really need to see how I do that. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and just get rid of that boolean. We don't need it. But I will go back and I will cut that in and connect them. Can you guys see me do it on this one? You don't need to see me do it again. Another thing that we're going to see a lot of is a bend, like a 90. So if we were to take another cylinder here, come on, another cylinder here. I know this is a little longer than we were originally anticipating, but that's okay. More bang for your buck, right? So if we bring it out this way, we want to throw a 90 on it. So we're about here. I'm going to convert this to an editable polygon. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead, pick this, and I want to extrude it. Okay. Alright. Now, if we look at a pipe, we most of us know how to use hinge from edge, okay? It's going to hinge from whatever edge we want it to, right? If I take this hinge, I'm going to, or this edge, okay, because that's where we're going to edge it from. I want to shift and drag out a little bit. Okay? Just making sure that it's actually going to do it. Come on. Okay, come on. Doesn't want to. Okay, that's fair. what we can do is just take this face. Okay, and we can move this guy. We can shift and drag this guy out. About here. Okay? And we're going to leave it as an element. Alright? Now I'm going to grab this face. And I want a hinge from edge. Move this out of the way so we can see what we're doing. Now I'm going to pick our hinge, but I want to hinge it from this guy. Okay? And I want our angle to be 90 degrees. And I'm going to turn that up so that we're, you know, roughly smooth. But you can see, instead of being stuck to this particular edge, now we're bending from this edge. Okay? We have that nice inner curve, which is something that we're going to want to see. Okay, so now we can just go ahead and delete this guy because he's no longer needed. And this, we can just move out a little bit. Give ourselves a little bit more definition there. Okay. And we have ourselves a 90-degree turn. Now, there's 6-way double, cross double outlets, and there's all kinds of different pipe fittings. You guys can use your imaginations. You know, I'm just basically giving you the general tools that you're going to need to make, you know, different things. You know, using the bevel tool, we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Let's go ahead and go to cylinder. Just make a cylinder here. Bring it up just a little bit because we're going to want this one to be a beveled connector, or what's generally called a nipple. Okay. Come over here. We're going to go to the bevel tool, and we'll make a reducer. Okay. So if we come up, go like this. Yep. Okay, and we can bring it in. And we're going to reduce its size, basically. Okay. Bring it in a little bit more. Okay. And I think what I want to do is I want to make it look like this is sitting inside of it. So I'm going to give it a little bit there. I'm going to bring it down just a tad. Okay. I want to zoom in so I can see what I'm doing here. Now I'm going to bring it up. I want to bring it just in a little bit. Okay. Just a little bit of separation there. And bring it out. Now when you look at it, you can see that there's a little bit of separation in there. Okay. If we were to take this and reduce it down a little bit, you would see that separation a little bit better. Okay. And we'll leave it like so. So there we go. We got 4 different pipe fittings that we can use for making pipes and greebling together. Okay. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and call this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like. Feel free to comment in the comment section. I will see you in the next episode. So until then, bye-bye.